Did you want to get straight into the RTX 4080 Super?
We may as well.
Yeah. Go. Oh, he's pulling it up just for the audio listeners here.
The Founders Edition.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Look at it.
In all black.
Oh, I love it.
And so there was a delay in actually getting the Founders Edition. It only just arrived. So there'll be a delay in that review. There's reviews of other models going up, including...
He's pulling up another one just for the audio listeners.
This is the
What
MSI
is that?
Expert. It's their new flagship. It's basically borrows the design of the Founders Edition with a push-pull fan design.
Oh my God.
Like a premium sort of metal with a grill.
That
finish.
That reminds me of Apple's desktop PC. You know how it had the
cool.
honeycomb bee, the beehive kind of look on the exterior. I do like that design though. That MSI card looks sick.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So basically, if you know MSI GPUs, they've got the Ventus, which is the not entry level, but the base models. And then after that, they got the Gaming X, which has a few different variants. And then they got the Supreme, which was their high-end GPU.
Do they still do the Lightning?
No, I don't think so.
No? Is that another brand or is that was MSI, right?
It's familiar. Yeah, I don't particularly.
Yeah, they change the names quite regularly.
So now this is called the Expert, right? And this is brand new, so it's a brand new design from them, and it's their new flagship. And it only comes in 4080 Super flavor for the moment. So it's them trying something new, and it's impressive because it's got a little small out of the box overclock, but it's sturdy metal, looks great, and there's no real there's nothing equivalent to it outside of NVIDIA's Founders Editions, which aren't, they're not, the NVIDIA Founders Editions aren't really sold everywhere. They're more like a niche. They sell them through their website. There's only Best Buy, I think, is the only store that carries them in the US.
Oh.
So the majority of cards being sold are MSI cards and Asus cards and all the other brands. The Founders Editions are kind of the reference models.
Yeah.
And NVIDIA just decided to make them look incredible. So MSI's version is it's really cool.
How does it compare to the 40? Because last week on the show we were talking about the RTX 4070 Ti Super. How does it compare to that?
Well, it's more of a 4K. It's basically a 4K gaming card and a pretty beastly one at that.
Yeah.
The 4090 is still in a league of its own. Mm-hmm. But the big thing here is that, which I kind of mentioned in my review, is that this feels like a relaunch as opposed to a refresh, because the 4080 launched with a $1,200 US MSRP or price point, which is pretty sizable because it breaks as soon as you go over 1,000. You're just in uncharted territory, really.
Yeah.
Or where the 3090s and 4090s live. And so AMD's flagship was $999 and offered similar non-RT performance. And so in terms of popularity, people were shelling out for the 4090 because it's if you want the best of the best, you're an enthusiast, so you're going to pay whatever it costs essentially.
Yeah.
And then for the most part, people are just gravitating towards the 4070 and the 4070 Ti, which was, more reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm.
So the 4080 Super drops the price from $1,200 to $999. So it's same price as AMD's flagship. And with that, you've got a modest boost to specs.
Okay.
So even NVIDIA said that performance is, basically the same as the 4080. You can expect up to an uplift of 3% at 4K, which is not a lot. But the main thing is that it's already at a performance tier that's, super high end and really good for 4K, especially ray tracing. And so you lower the price, and then the value proposition compared to the Radeon 7900 XTX seems a lot better because you factor in DLSS and all that sort of stuff that NVIDIA is a leader on.
Yeah.
So like the Founders Edition and that kind of like is about a 3% faster than the 4080 for 4K gaming. So it's not a lot.
That's really low.
The MSI model and like the ROG Strix and other OC models are closer to like 6%.
Oh, okay.
4K. So it's a little bit more. Yeah, so like it's not like they kind of like set the expectation. So like the big thing is just the price drop. So that's why it feels like a relaunch. So it's like, oh, okay. So now like I think they're gonna do really well because now it is considerably cheaper than the 4090, right?
Yeah.
And sure, it's not 4090 level performance, but it's pretty good 4K gaming performance. Like it's the second most powerful GPU after the 4090.
Yeah, yeah. What is the performance difference between the 4080 Super and the 4090?
Okay, so for 4K gaming, just looking at the like the reference spec or like the Founders Edition type spec, so like the MSRP models, not overclocked models.
Yep.
Just looking at my numbers here. I think I wrote it down. Yeah, so for 4K gaming, it's basically 25% or 20 to 25% slower for 4K gaming.
Okay. And what's the price difference?
$600. So you go from like 1,000 to 1,600.
I would pay it, wouldn't you?
It's diminishing returns, right? So it's like you're paying way more for not the equivalent amount of performance.
Yeah.
So it's more like it just seems like better value. The 4080 is better value than the 4090.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, looking at like the 40 Ti Super for 4K gaming, it's like 16 to 18% faster, which is a decent amount.
That's
enough
a chunk.
To push it.
That's a chunk.
Yeah. Compared to the 4090, like I said, 3 to 6% faster depending on the model, but it's not a huge difference. But compared to the AMDs, like you'd factor in all performance, it's about 5 to 7% faster, and it's the same price. But you've got considerably better ray tracing performance.
Yeah, all the bells and whistles that come with it.
DLSS, because when you get to like 4K at this level, right, what the 4080 can do. You turn on DLSS quality and you're already like pushing what was 100, you're pushing into triple digits.
Yeah.
Like without fail. And most games launch with that sort of stuff. So it's like, well, if I want like high-end, like super high-end ultra-wide gaming or super high-end 4K, if you want to be on the cutting edge, you look at that. If that's the sort of price range you're looking at and you're weighing up the options of like, there's AMD's flagship, there's, like the 4080 was like a big chunk more than AMD's flagship. And the trade-off was that like you're paying more for like better ray tracing performance and DLSS and all these other features that NVIDIA has, which was like the premium, so to speak, is the way you would justify it. But now they're like the same price. So that's why I think it's a relaunch and it's a really good card, but it's like it's not a groundbreaking sort of like, oh, now this is substantially faster, because then that would just encroach into 4090 territory. Yeah. Which still sits in its own sort of like class. Like there's like the 4090 isn't competing with anything, whereas this is competing with AMD's flagship now. Yeah.
No, that's interesting. So the main takeaway is the price drop. It's not really the performance with this card.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And like if you want to, like, this is a card for 4K gaming, right?
Of course.
That's the only resolution it makes sense. Or ultra wide, basically ultra wide or 4K. Anything less, like even 1440p, it's diminishing returns. There's better options for 1440p gaming, like in terms of like value for money, bang for your buck. Like if you look at like 1080p gaming, like the difference between the 4080 Super, the 4090, the AMD's flagship, you're looking at like there's like single digits, is like 3% separate or 5% separating just those three cards. Like they're just wasted at lower resolutions.
So the 4080 would be 4080 Super would be a card. Say if I had one of the new ultra wide 240 hertz monitors, that card would be applicable to that resolution and frame rate.
Yeah, for a lot of games, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's games that you just aren't going to hit 240
Oh, yeah, of course.
hertz with, like, you know, once you max out settings, if they're like highly cinematic games, they're just not designed to run at that sort of speed. But like, you know, if you're playing like a competitive title, then for sure, no issues.
Yeah.
You won't even be stressed.
That's awesome. No, that's...
But the good thing as well is that it's still super efficient too. So it uses less power than, like, you know, like the 4080 Super is substantially more powerful than the 3080, right? Like substantially more.
Yeah.
But like it uses less power for
Yes.
4K gaming on average.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What are the temps like?
So yeah, pretty stable. Like I've tested like a handful of cards. So like, you know, like the ROG Strix model, because that's, you know, it's built like it's 4 slots thick. Dude, it's gigantic, right? It's built like a tank. It is like a tank. It's like a whole PC that you're connecting to your PC.
Do you have it on hand, or is it in a PC at the moment?
It's in a box.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that was one I held up for like the 40 Ti Super. You're like, oh my god, look at the size of that
that's
thing.
right. Yeah, last week.
This is even bigger.
It's even bigger.
So this is like even bigger. It's probably the biggest GPU I think I've ever seen. Right. So like that one is over-engineered, right? And so it runs ridiculously cool. I had like a stress test going. Like when I do the stress test, I just leave it running like a benchmark and then just have GPU-Z open and it's just running for like 20 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like the temps didn't even crack like 60 degrees.
Oh my
The
god.
GPU. The fan speed's like at like 30%. I'm like, all right. It's like, you know, and then like memory temperature low. Like the MSI's one, the way that NVIDIA's Founders Edition works is that like it works best in like a closed or semi-closed case because of the way that you got the fans and then you got the pushing it out the back as well. But even so, like in a fully open GPU test bench, it's, you know, like it's in like the mid 60s.
That's good. That's
which
really
is like,
good.
yeah. And the memory temp's extremely low. So like there's nothing, or like hotspots are low as well. So it's not like no part of it is overheating, so to speak. So like, you know, with like the 3090s and the 3080s, like the memory got really hot in some models, like especially like the Founders Editions and stuff. Like they were pushing like 90 degrees and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they've definitely figured out how to cool memory.
Yeah, that's
and like, you know, there's
that's the
bunch of
thing
different
about
models.
these new, or at least I found with the 4000 series and just reading and hearing you talk about it, it's just the efficiency compared to the 3000 series is you get more performance for, you know, there's less wattage being pulled, the temps are lower. It's like, it's incredible how much they can squeeze out of these cards. It just, every generation I'm impressed.
Yeah, so like with the 4080 Super, let's say you're maxing it out, you know, Cyberpunk ray tracing 4K.
Yeah.
With DLSS, frame gen, everything going. It's going to be like pulling 300 to 320 watts, the max TGP for the reference design. And that's like, okay, so that's pushing above 300 watts. That's, you know, power hungry for a GPU. But because of like the efficiency of the architecture, right? If you were to lower the resolution, if you were to like start capping frame rates, the performance you can still get like at half the power is insane. Like just by like even like tempering off. You like if you were to run it at like you know, like cap things at like, you know, undervolted, so it's like running at, you know, 70-80% power and you're still getting like 90 to 95% of the same performance. Like that's the way it works. Like it doesn't like that, just it's that last 10% of performance that they really push.
Yeah.
When it comes to this sort of, because that's what you do. Like you want like to get peak performance in when you're benchmarking, or in some cases, but you've got that option to be able to just scale.
Yeah. Okay. So it kind of, the efficiency, there's a sweet spot in like if you were to cap the FPS or reduce the resolution or the quality. But if you really want to, hit the NOS on the graphics card for all intents and purposes, there is a NOS button.
Yeah, that's right. Like for example, let's say you're running a game, like even let's say like Diablo 4, and which I ran on 4080 Super. So at ultra wide resolution, hitting 300 plus FPS or whatever the case is.
Oh wow!
I cap it to like 144 to match the refresh rate of the display. And then the GPU goes from 280 watts down to 160 or something like that in usage.
Oh, wow.
It's just, and the fans are barely doing anything. It's almost like it's on vacation. It's still pumping out 144 FPS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just scales incredibly well.
Would it be correct to say that there's a bell curve of efficiency?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That is that's interesting.
I think it's going to sell really well just because of the price point for enthusiasts, for people that have been eyeing 4090s and now they say, oh well, the 4080 is now way cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's a bit faster or whatever the case is, but not dramatically. But if you're upgrading, if that's what you're eyeing, and even if you've got a 3080, right, this is considerably more powerful. This is already 50%, 60%, whatever it is, more powerful.
Oh, okay, wow. Compared to the 3080, it's 50%.
Let me double check that figure, but it's huge. It's a huge amount. Yeah, it's a huge amount. It's more than a generational leap.
Well, anything over 30%, it's it feels like you're getting free performance to that, but it's it's a no-brainer if you have that card. And especially if you're eyeing one of the new monitors that have come out, that say if you had an ultra wide at 120 hertz or a 4K at 120 hertz, and you want to get a 4K display that is 200 or pushing higher and higher and higher, and you have a 3080, then this seems like a good pick without breaking the bank and going and getting a 4090. You just have a look for
4K gaming compared to the 3080.
Yeah. Bear with us,
listeners. Getting to insane levels of performance, right? Because if you even it goes 3% faster, but the problem with the 4080 wasn't that it wasn't powerful. It was super powerful. It's 58.7% faster for 4K gaming. Stock settings. Founders Edition versus Founders Edition.
Oh my God. Wow.
At 4K gaming, right?
Yeah. That's incredible. So all 3000 series listeners, if you're in the upper echelon of
and that's a rare situation, right? Because most people are upgrading
rare.
every second generation, right? You don't upgrade every generation GPUs. Most people, it's I wait for the next one because it's every 2 years is pretty. You don't need to upgrade every 2 years. It's every 4 years it kind of feels right. So if you're going from the 2080, because the 3080 was a massive leap over the 2080, and so this one. See, the thing is with the 40 series is that the 4080 and the 4090 represent massive generational leaps in performance. Massive.
Is that a testament to the architecture?
Yeah. At its peak, yeah. It's just insane.
Jesus. That is a 60%. That's unheard of, or at least to my ears. I haven't heard of a jump like that from generation to generation. That's big.
Yeah. Wow. It's huge. Sure, it costs more, but even then, the difference is,
it's worth it. We have a jam-packed show, as you have seen. Is that everything that you wanted to talk about with the 4080? Did you want to round off that segment? Or
check out our reviews for the show notes if you want to see full benchmarks and stuff. There's all reviews up now, so check those out.
Yep.